All right. Should be live. Should be live. Hello. Let me know if you can hear me. Hopefully it's not too loud. We are on. All right, let me know if you can hear me. Holla in chat. Oh, probably can't see me though. Hi. So, hello guys, welcome. I'm back. We have returned. So let me know in chat if you can hear me and see me properly. My internet is acting up, so I'm not sure how smooth it is. But otherwise, yeah, we can talk about animation stuff. Oh, phone's like on the other side. Hold on. Cool. All right, so today the main focus was to talk about the pendulum animation and also look into the ball bounce that I had done last week, 2 weeks ago actually, and look at what we can do to fix the issues that I had there. And at the same time, today we are going to look at some stuff about pendulums, which is the second exercise we usually do immediately after the ball bounce. I think once you can once you can master the ball bounce and the pendulum, then I think you can safely say your animation skills are moving along nicely. So from there, also, it starts getting into advanced stuff. From there is where you start to do more advanced character work and such. So once you have a firm grasp of those and this, then you should be able to, move on to those more advanced things. So just go back, watch the ball bounce thing if you need to once again, and just get a catch up on what was discussed there, so that the stuff here can also make sense, because I'd rather build upon that than have to start over here. So yeah, chat's live. In case of anything, again, my net is really weird, so that's probably power about to bounce. I hope not. So yeah, just let me know in chat if anything goes wrong. But for now, as per usual, I can show you my slideshow. All right. So yeah, just let me know if you guys can hear and see me clearly. It looked like it spiked there again for a sec. So let's go here. All right, so let's talk about the pendulum. And as usual, this is something else that applies to After Effects, Blender, motion graphics, even stop motion if you like. But the main thing we're discussing here is, why do you want to do a pendulum and how does it tie into animation? So get a notebook, guys, if you can. This week I've been doing some teaching and I've realized the importance of a notebook. I've been discussing getting one for a while now. I was talking about the clear books from Miniso, which sadly are out of stock now. So I got a different book, which is just a random one like this. It's a square one. It's a square grid. It was just a random pick, but it's turning out pretty nicely. Can use the grid to divide lines up and arrange stuff. But the main idea here is when you start moving away from doing the pendulum and the bouncing ball, it's very important that you have some way to transfer what's happening in your head into something else, which is a book. And I think a pen and a paper is the easiest way to do it because it's the cheapest and the fastest. So, hey Jotham. Yeah, a book and a pen is the cheapest and most efficient way to get stuff out of your head into something else. And the main concept behind that is that in the process of just thinking things through and figuring them out and trying to figure out how to convert your thought into something you can write down, you'll be able to just that process will help you figure out anything in the process, or what you're trying to think about. You might get more ideas. And it's really also important to have even just your random flashes of thoughts, like I should think of doing something. Just get it down and try and sketch it down, and then you can easily, as you're going down the line and maybe you're somewhere down the project and you're trying to think of a way to make things interesting, you can always just pop back to your scrappy ideas and find something you can use. So yeah, get a notebook, guys. You don't even have to actually save them and keep them for the rest of your life or something. That would be cool, but just doing that process alone is pretty useful. Yeah. Especially, the cool thing is it doesn't have to look as elegant as you'd like. Like here is just some planning I was doing for a bottle I wanted to model. So I was just using this diagram here to kind of figure out where the loops are, where I'm going to extrude it, and where I'm going to put different things. And when you have it down on paper, it's a lot easier. All you're doing is just executing. You've already thought of everything. It's all here. So you're ready to just start doing everything one time. You know what? Okay, yeah. Suggesting I should check out some leather books. Yes, buy me a book, please, if you're feeling generous. Sanari has also been selling some plain books and dotted books. Dots are also really nice. I like dots as well. It's just like a square book, but maybe it doesn't cover as much of the ink. But square is pretty nice. So I've been working on some animation stuff. And I'm not sure where I drew it. Oh yeah, my bouncing ball stuff is still here. The rotations and such, so that's useful. But actually have a lot of stuff here. So yeah, I need to figure out how to do some elephant animation. So I have some really sketchy stuff and ideas going on here. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff I really need to think about in terms of the poses of what it's doing. Here it's doing some trunk stuff. So it's not really drawn that well. I think my drawing has actually improved a lot over time. Poses for a walk cycle and poses for the legs and such. Yeah, my drawing has gotten a bit better over the days, but I can probably do better. But yeah, very, very handy and useful. As I'm animating, I can just have this on the side. I'm looking at my references and my notes. I can flip through them as I'm working. Yeah, you'll also probably have to come up with some kind of system you can use to organize your notes. But yeah, get a notebook and use it faithfully. It doesn't have to be as neat or clean or anything. As long as you understand what's going on, it can be very useful. And that's why I come to this stuff. which is about the two important stages that I realized you kind of miss out on when you're trying to watch tutorials online and such and trying to pick up on some skills. There are two stages that they usually don't show you, or that's usually not very clear, and that's usually number one, planning. Check out any I don't want to get shot DMCA'd or anything because of showing a clip, but go check out like some speed sculpts or something, or those guys who do like a scene in like 2 minutes, or like they bring down their 6 hour workflow into like 2 minutes. Check out those things and you'll see they sort of just pop things out of nowhere. Like suddenly, how does he know to put stairs there? How does he know to do all this stuff? And I'm willing to bet, like, as much as they have reference on the screen as well, they also have some sketches somewhere on the side, and they've already done a lot of thinking and planning and trying to figure out what to put where, and all those things, and which stairs to put, what kind of lighting to do. They kind of have already thought of all those things before they even showing the speed run. And even the guys you see who do like the speed drawings of people, and I've even seen a sketch artist talk about this, that by the time he's even started drawing, he already has a good idea of what he's going to do. So the process you're actually watching is him now refining it and trying to get the best version of what he's doing. So the planning is very important, and it's usually not there. Go full screen and showing. Oh, I'm just in the corner. Oh man, sorry. I'll show you again later. So yeah, and then fixing, which is also the next step, which is usually, okay, I've done this thing, I've created this piece, I've created this animation or something. It's gone to a client, or it's been a week or so, and you're now coming back to it, or you now think you need to polish it. We don't usually see those processes as much online, and that's also something that comes as like a wall. Like when you start to hit those changes that really feel like they're completely breaking down your workflow, your process, and one way or another you just have to fix it. I think we need more content like that, and there's not much of that online. But still, book. Keep your notes of how you're gonna fix stuff in your book, because that's all I was leading up to. So those two important stages are very important, and that's why I said they're important, and that's why we're gonna focus for the next few weeks to look at how to use a notebook effectively, and just learning how to transfer your ideas onto paper. I think it's a really, really big help in developing your skills, and just like I said before, getting to the best version of what you're trying to create. I hope that makes sense. So, okay, Jotham has said I've played him in not showing everything big. I don't even have a big camera layout. Maybe I should have scanned my my pages. Okay, I'll scan the as a consolation, I'll take screenshots of some of the pages and put them in a group of my ugly diagrams, or maybe, yeah, because I don't actually have a setup with a full camera. Nope, not that one. Not that one either. That's even smaller. Yeah, okay. So, sorry, Jotham. This is actually the best view I have. But yeah, I hope you get the general idea of what I'm talking about, though. You can even do like the prestige guys and like encrypt your book, make all the text like look like a doctor's handwriting or something, so you're the one who can read it. So if anyone steals it, your ideas don't go anywhere. I don't know, some people worry about that stuff. So let's go back to what we're doing, which is Pendulum, which is we need to, when we now start animating stuff and really getting into the nitty-gritties of bodies and characters and people moving through scenes, we have to start thinking about poses and how those poses move into one another. And at the same time we're doing that, we also need to be able to apply follow through and apply squash and stretch and apply drag and all those things without having to think too much about it. And that's it. That's why we have to do the bouncing ball and the pendulum. We have to get those things in our heads directly. They need to be there immediately, because if they're not there, if they're not there from the start, then you're going to now struggle trying to work out those overlap and small things, when you should be focusing more on how can I make my animation of two tigers fighting look more intense, or look more, or how can I make it, how can I make it more intense? What sort of energy can I add to the scene, as opposed to how do I make it overlap and flow better? So if it's already there, it's already in your head, and you're already applying it into the poses, then you can, you can get a lot of cool stuff done. So like here, you can see this chicken. You can kind of already know what it's doing, what direction it's coming from, what direction it's going in, and probably what it's going to do next, which is kick this guy in the head. So having these powerful poses and figuring out that next pose of the kick, figuring out the pose before of where it came from, that's what you want to be thinking about, and not the overlap of the head or how it's supposed to change, that kind of stuff. You just need to get it so that you're just doing it without having to think about it. So check out these two books, really dope. Richard Williams' Animator Survival Kit and Illusion of Life. Survival Kit is more theory. It doesn't actually mention the 12 principles of animation, because Richard Williams didn't really approve of that idea. He just had his own way of thinking about it. But he does cover the same things in the book. Illusion of Life is about just how Disney came to work and all the stuff they figured out from the start to finish, and the history of Disney. So it's really more about history of Disney and just the stuff they figured out. But Survival Kit is probably the better book, because it just has more content, more theory stuff, more important things. So like I was saying, we need to get to this point where we are animating characters dancing in a scene and moving around, and you guys are so capable of doing it. Like, you don't have to think about the hats overlapping and their clothes and all these extremities and how her arms are moving and overlapping with itself. You need to get to the point where you just do it, and as you're animating, it just happens, and you can focus now on other character stuff, which is, how is she dancing, what kind of moves is she doing, what is this guy's hands doing, how can I make the animation of this character as interesting as possible. To do that, you don't have time to be worrying about squash and stretch. So how do we get to that point? Well, do exercises, just like golfers and tennis guys and all these other guys. They stand there and whack the ball until hitting the ball back becomes second nature, and now they can focus on the strategy and whoever they're playing against. So let's do that. That's what we're doing, actually. So just thought I'd continue to reinforce that idea that all this is leading up to something. So 12 principles of animation. Ooh, that's what I was supposed to put full screen there. 12 principles of animation are there. You don't really need to memorize them, but they're pretty useful to know. But they're just terms that are used for execution. All right, so far so good, I hope. Let's go back here. Oh, so Jotham, it's cool. Okay. I was gonna talk about squash and stretch and things, but I think I've already said what I wanted to say. So we can go back to this, and I'll talk about this guy here, which is the frog. So this is what I mean by how those ideas are going to transfer. This is in Richard Williams' book, by the way. And the bouncing ball that we created here is now going to translate to how this frog comes and lands here, and then how it stretches out as it jumps away. So once you have a proper understanding of how this works, you can now focus more on the character of the frog and focus on the volumetrics of them. At least that's what the idea is there. Here's another one. Someone landing. You want to have the leg. I think we talked about that in Monene's shot, about how when someone's coming down, you want to have that one frame of them with the foot touching down. And that comes from the same thing here, which is just this stretch. Oh, he doesn't have the stretch, but yeah, it should be there. So yeah, and then that. So yeah, here's just an example of squash and stretch, just a bit exaggerated, but yeah, once you have the personality and all those things figured out, you can now start thinking about where you're putting his arms, how you're bending his knees, as opposed to what's really happening. So that's the general idea throughout all these shots. So principle 5 is follow through and overlapping action. And that's what we're going to focus on, which is physics. That's what the pendulum is all about. And in this character, it's how the ears are moving up and down. That's what you'd consider the overlap. That's what the pendulum is now trying to teach us. How to be able to track the way the head is moving and the way the ears are reacting to that movement. And that's what you're going to apply to the head, to clothes, to extremities, to tails, to wings, to your character's long hair, or big ears, big floppy ears, I guess, will also have. They will also need these kind of ideas. So yeah, focus on arcs as well, on how things move. We have the pendulum is 3 objects connected together, so they're all based on each other's rotation. And yeah, check out this stuff about overlap. I was talking about, yeah, the hair. Like, this character has these objects on his hair, so you need to be able to overlap that properly. The cloth on his hand also needs to have some decent overlap, and you need to be able to just do that on your own. Even this elephant character down here, the way the hat, the way the little flag on the hat moves, the way the clothes move, like, that's all the little details that they're thinking about as they're doing this stuff. It's pretty nuts. Even here's another example of overlap. When the foot moves, the way the clothes drag behind is part of understanding overlap, which is part of the pendulum as well. So yeah, even yeah, like I was saying, extremities, even bums and boobs need some overlap. So even the hat, same idea is going on. As it goes down, it stretches. The hair also, the way it moves. All these things, just as something moves, how does things that are connected to it, how do they react to that motion? That's the main idea there. So check out this guy who gets hit in the face with a ball from the slow-mo guys. There's one slow-mo they have here of the guy's face getting hit. So when you have your pendulum starting from one point, I should make my thingy bigger. So when you have your pendulum moving from one point and it starts to move, there is the way anything that's connected to it, let's say this is the top of the pendulum, once it starts to move, there's a way this thing connected to it needs to react, right? So when the pendulum moves and this guy tends to point back towards the direction it's come from. And you can kind of see it in this video clip, where when he gets hit by the ball, you'll see his nose and his skin, the stuff it's like his skull is what gets hit, and now his skin and everything is kind of left behind. And so his skull would be the platform, and the skin would be that first leg of the pendulum moving. So just kind of keep that weird image in mind and watch this. Cool thing with YouTube, you can frame through. So you'll see it hits. Check out his nose. His nose, like, his face looks like it's frozen for a sec. And Yeah, let's watch that frame by frame, you see. Oh, it's because I'm in PowerPoint. It's because I'm in slides. I can't do that. Okay, this should work. Yeah, there we go. So if we go back, did you guys know you can frame by frame on YouTube? It's pretty crazy. Look at his lips. That's really funny. But okay, so the ball comes through and hits. That's just hitting his face. Now when his head starts to move is when it's really hit his skull. Like there it's hit his skull. His skull has moved. So literally his face is actually stuck in space right now. His nose especially, as because it's really squished, you can see it even looks like it's pointing to the left. So as you can see, his whole face is just moving as one thing before the rest of his head even starts moving. And his lips look like his face just moves. But yeah. And then now it starts to catch up. So the way it moves, the way it catches up is all actually important in some way. And that's kind of the general idea of what we're doing with overlap and with overlap. So there's also this example here of an exaggerated punch from Naruto. So if you kind of understand, I need to mute this. If you kind of understand what's going on, sorry, it's actually telling me the stream has started, and that's hilarious. Okay, there we go. So yeah, so this clip actually gives that idea. The way his face is overlapping is what's supposed to be animated, and if you're there thinking about overlap and such things, you start to miss out on character stuff. This animation was not that bad. It was just smeary, and I think that was kind of what they were going for. But yeah, it still looked weird. So everything is a rotation, and it's not positional. So it becomes trickier when you have to move an object, but still keep this point back there while this object has just suddenly moved, and you have to do it with rotation. And there's nothing like IK for this. This is just plain rotation. We're doing puppets, 3D puppets ideally, so we're not doing drawings anymore. So for us, things kind of rotate out, but also, or rather the rotation just makes things a bit trickier in terms of the positioning, and I'll show that in just a sec. So check out this page on arcs by in the Animator Survival Kit again. There's another one here about how, positioning the foot here, pretty interesting stuff. Another one on squash and stretch, and finally on arcs. So once we've covered that, we can basically move on to the other stuff we need to cover, which is the bouncing ball. What happened to the bouncing ball? Well, the last time we were on this, I discovered what was wrong with it is the curves. If you remember, the curves are giving me an issue, so I discovered it was this keyframe down here. Oops. Turns out it was a keyframe. These keyframes down here had they were too long, so that's why the tops of the curves were looking really weird. When we did the motion path, let me see if I can still do that real quick. Don't worry, guys. I won't go too much into this because the whole point was the pendulum. So yeah, the thing that was causing this weird bunching up of keyframes here was actually these keys I was putting down here. So if we can look at like this one, this is 50 to 50. Wait, it was actually this curve here which I managed to fix. But the other thing I saw is if you have a keyframe here in the middle. Ooh, I didn't even make myself small. Okay. and I need to do this 1.35. Yeah, so what you can do here with this is go V, auto clamped, and then scale it to 0, and then go V, auto clamped again, and then scale it out. And apparently that kind of fixes it. That was kind of annoying. I shouldn't have to do that, but yeah, that's what turned out to be the issue. On this other side, I think we had managed to clean up by adding more keyframes and just making sure everything was where it needed to be. And then generally speaking, let's see, let's go back here. I think the ball bounce looks okay now. I think it looks much better now, especially there. So yeah, go ahead and try out the ball bounce. Let me know if you guys needed help with doing your own, because otherwise I'm done with that one. I hope I don't have to do. No, let me not jinx myself. I might get that as my next gig like tomorrow. So here's a pendulum example. The whole point of the exercise is to animate the platform and then use the rotations down here to create the physics yourself manually. So this is the one I did back in the day. This looks a bit weird though. I can kind of see some weirdness, but not too bad. So let's give that a try ourselves with the rig I posted, which is this one. We can do it right in this project. And just like the other guy, this guy's controls are pretty straightforward. You have your root, which is the center, which sets where everything is going to start from. And then you have your mover, which is the object you're actually going to move. So I can split this and go like this. And this is the guy you want to move around. And then coming down, we have each joint just has a green control for where it moves to, where it needs to move. So we can do this and that. And that's pretty much it. So the idea is to animate these controls here and get this to make more sense. So I'm just gonna do a quick example here. Ideally, especially if you have someone helping you, you can do a complex motion like the one I just showed of the whole thing moving around. But most times even you can just do something as simple as the guy moves from left to right of the screen. So I'll do that, just the left to right on the screen, and then you guys can try that yourself, and then in the group we can discuss how maybe we can do the more complicated one. So I hope you guys can still hear me and see me. I have been talking, but otherwise, yeah, probably someone would have said so by now. So I'm going to start from this position. Let me start with this view. X, yeah, like that. Actually, I can view this at an angle. That's not too bad. And okay, so the idea here is to do some overlap and to show how as the platform moves, the bottom part of the pendulum also maintains gravity. And the best way to show that gravity is that as this moves, they each move in stages. Oh, I should be on this side. Yeah, as this moves, these guys are affected by inertia, so they shouldn't just move directly. They should be left behind, so it should kind of look like this. And basically oh, actually let me animate it so that I can use annotations. So I'll just do location, move this down to like 140 frames, move this over. It's probably too much, but it's okay. Location, and then this can also go to, let's say, 180. Yep, definitely too much. So we clamp it up. Yeah, there we go. So let's do 100. Right, so the platform moves. Let's say I want it to move a bit faster. Just do this. I just manually give it ease. So it goes like that. Oh, too far. Yeah, like that. So we need to now make this bottom part of the pendulum make sense. So the main goal here is to start with these rotations and rotate these guys into what needs to look like a realistic physical motion. So the first thing is to just keyframe these. So go I, rotation, and it's important to make sure your rotations are set to, oh, this doesn't have this. Okay. You can see this, right? I hope so. My preview is not working. Let's see. All right, I just hope you guys can still hear. Okay, so yeah, the main goal here is to try and bend this guy to show a more physical reaction, and that is based on, right now it's here. Oh, I can do, instead of doing this, let me do polygon, no, line. So now it's here like this. Let's make this a nice bright color you can see. And as it moves, now this is technically what I should be doing in the notebook, but I'm just gonna do it on screen so that you guys can see. As this moves over like this, I need to make sure that this ball doesn't move until it absolutely has to. So it needs to stay here as long as this leg is allowed to let it stay there, because that's how the inertia is basically going to work. It's not going to move until it feels the force of this arm pulling on it, and all of that is going to happen one stage at a time. So I need to, once it moves forward a bit, I need to see where this limit for this ball is going to be, which is probably going to be like there. So it will be like this, and then what I can do is go to there's an onion skin option, but it's in a weird place. There it is. Okay. And then this goes like this on this frame. It becomes a little trickier to figure out as it moves more and more, because this also needs to continue bending over, and then this guy is probably still just started to move, and then this one is down there, and maybe somewhere here. Yeah, by this point it's definitely already been pulled, so it'll be something like this. So hopefully with my sketch you can kinda see what I mean. It's like it's being peeled off from this location, from this position, I mean. Hope that's made sense, guys. Let's go here and disable onion skin. So this is basically what I need to get going on. The other thing that needs to happen is this angle here needs to progressively increase. So this should actually be more like this should actually be more like this. Okay, so you can see this is here. It's actually not allowed to go behind itself, so something like that. That's gonna make it get pulled upwards. But that's the general idea. So let's plug it in. I'll grab I'm already in pose mode. So I'll grab these guys. Eye rotation, which I already did. And then I can go to keying, set available, then enable auto key. So now I can just, actually let's set it to, is it whole character? No. Let's just use these. So I'll grab these three. Hit I, that'll set a keyframe. And then go to exactly where I was putting those drawings. So there. I'll turn this. Now here's the tricky part about what I was saying, everything being based on rotations. Because I'm going to move this, I now need to move this guy back to where he was supposed to be, which is here. Back when the sequence started, it's supposed to be here. So I need to make sure it actually doesn't move. So we need to just do that for now, at least. That's all I need to do. So already you can see interpolation and the extra keyframes I added are already starting to mess around. The computer is already starting to do what the computer does best, which is to mess things up. So right now, like I said, sometimes you can come here to the middle and you see something is wrong, but that doesn't mean we need to fix here in the middle. It just might mean that something wrong is going on either here or here. But for now, before I get into that, I'm still adding my keyframes. So if I do something in the middle, it's going to be a breakdown. But I don't need to start doing breakdowns yet. I'm still doing the keyframes. So this can be the next one. So let's try and get it back there. Oh yeah, so first of all, let's just make sure this angle is increasing. Then we try and get the ball back to where it was. So you can see it can't really reach. Oh, I've made a mistake. Yeah, I need to do this. I need to bring this back down like this. Okay. So I need to get that look of it peeling off. And I need to start showing the speed of the ball at the bottom. We need to show that speed picking up. So it's kind of not really bending correctly. It shouldn't bend this way, because at some point it needs to start looking like this, because now the ball is being dragged behind, right? So I need to start figuring out what exactly is going wrong here. So it's being pulled back. This is right. This is probably wrong. I think this is because I did this. I put one here. Yeah, I did. So I can use a breakdowner to fix this. I just grab these, I go pose, in betweens, pose breakdowner, and I can send it back to the previous pose, which was this. But it's also moved slightly, so I can just move the cursor just a little bit to put it somewhere between those two. Then now it should make more sense. Yep. So I think the bottom ball is slightly being pulled upwards. And it's going to the right. It's not supposed to react at all, so let's go maybe by this point. This should have turned a bit more. So it's, as you can see, this is getting pulled over, so just need to bring it back like that. But it shouldn't look like it's moving upwards, which is what's currently happening a little. So as it gets to this point, it needs to start getting towards that other pose I was saying, which is really bent over. By this point, for sure, it should be like that. It needs to peel off and look like that. So right now, I'm definitely putting it too high. This can't possibly go behind itself. If it's starting here, it's I usually even put my finger on the screen. If it's starting here, it needs to stay exactly where it was, and it can't go. Right now, it's going behind itself. It should be here, and it's gone behind here, which is not something that should happen. It should always just drag behind, like this. Like the guy's face that was hit, his nose doesn't go to the other side of the ball. When he's hit by the ball, his nose is just left behind, and it's actually his head that's moving. So nothing ever actually goes the other side. It just gets left behind. So I need to fix some of these poses and make sure it's sticking. So maybe this shape is wrong. This should be more like this. Because it's peeling off. Yeah. So this here is definitely in the wrong place. This should be happening. This should be happening like somewhere here. So you can set keyframe there, then go back, then use pose, in between, pose breakdowner. So, oops, ran out of space. Oops, my bad. It's because there's a key there. So let's do it manually. So yeah, once that peeling action is happening, I think I can safely say it's looking alright. So that's may have made it look a bit easier, but that's the general idea of what we're trying to do. To show that thing that as it goes, stuff is slightly getting left behind. There's a few hitches going on. Hope that's just my FPS acting up, but looks okay. But now we also need to do the same now on this side. As the pendulum comes to a halt, we need to show the same action, that as it's slowing down, also the ball feels that slowdown happening. It's really strange to say that this needs to maintain its motion until it feels this, until this object slows it down, this leg here slows it down. And the only way that's going to happen is if Let me try to get the annotations back. The only way this ball can stop is if this bar pulls on it to make it stop. And that can only happen if that force comes from this whole chain. So what's going to happen is since this has stopped and these guys still have momentum, it's like when you're in a car and a car turns and then you guys all get thrown to the to the opposite side. That's basically what needs to happen here. Once this guy stops, all these guys are going to get thrown to the other side because of momentum. Because of the pendulum stopping, the momentum is going to throw them over. So it's come over. It's not really about it stopping. It's even just as it starts slowing down, which is about here. Kind of need to visualize it. Let's go I. Make sure it's keyframed so it doesn't get messed. So as it starts to slow down, this guy will swing over like this. So maybe that's a bit too quick. So I can do E. This momentum it had moving is what I'm trying to transfer onto the rotation down here. Okay, that's looking okay. And then now I need to transfer it down here as well. So there it goes like that. So where would this be? This would also be pulling over. Same for this. And we just keyframe it. So it kind of feels like it's just gained speed suddenly, right? So I need to give it more space. This keyframe shouldn't be there, it should be. Yeah, that makes more sense. So we're trying to make this ball down here look like it's just continuously maintaining its motion. I don't know, eventually it's gonna look like this. So you can just create that pose. Cool. This is turning out way better than I thought, by the way. I actually thought I'd take way longer to do this. So now it's going to go swing over. This is going to start coming back. But as it's coming back also, this is still going to be swinging. This is going to still be swinging. So we go like this, and then this guy starts coming back. But these guys are still swinging this way. So it starts coming back fast. See, it throws those guys over, as in it even just makes sense, right? So this will keep going. This will get pulled up. This will get pulled up. But because of the force of how this is getting swung over like that, it should end up, as this is settling, this should end up being forced this way. Right? So it's basically, yeah, just trying to account for how the motion gets transferred over. Maybe it looks a bit wonky. Now the speed it uses to go from left to right should be a bit slower of how it goes back from right to left. So like right now, this is definitely way too fast, what it's doing here. Another way of doing this, in case this has gotten a bit too complicated and it looks like I'm making it look too easy, another way we can do this is, instead of trying to look at it as a whole thing, we look at it as individual pieces. So it's slowing down like this, but let's just straighten this out. So I'll do Alt R, that's just gonna make it straight, and then we just animate the top leg on its own. So it swings like that. Oops, I didn't say, I forgot to delete these. Delete keys. So it actually needs to hold here a bit. Parabola, it needs to actually hold here for a sec. And then go back and hold there for a sec. Oop, it shouldn't go as high. It's just like the bouncing ball. It shouldn't go as high. So the way the bouncing ball, the bounces diminish, we need to make our swings diminish as well. So shoop, shoop. And we kind of have control over how many swings it's going to do before it stops. So that's one. And then you can go a bit like that. And then a bit like that. Oops, maybe let's just do there. And then run out of frames. So let's give it a bit more like that. So once you've done one side, once you've gotten that swing, it's the same thing now as the issue I was having with the other one of the graph doing weird stuff. So Blender is not really, I think when they said they're gonna fix the animation system, this is what they're talking about, because it's pretty annoying. That whole process I've just done is really annoying. So wow, I've managed to successfully create a wave here. So what I can do is what I was saying, I can just V auto clamped and just scale them out a bit, just so it seems to like hover and stay on one of those values a bit longer. Okay, these are a bit violent, so let's bring this up, this down. Okay, so once that's done, you can go to the next level, kind of see what's happening. Let's just let it rotate a bit further. So here, once this move starts, it actually needs to be left behind. I'd say this is more like a chain, what I'm going for here. So it needs to bend this way more to react to that change in momentum. That's definitely way too much. So this is really important. Getting this angle here where this is pulling this, it really helps to sell that that feeling of just that wavy motion. So maybe here it picks up a bit more, but not that fast. You can still, because I know for sure by the time this starts coming back, this guy is still swinging this way, so I shouldn't take it all the way so early. So like by the time this guy is coming back, this guy is definitely this way. Another break, that same break I was showing here, it also happens here. It also needs to happen here, just to show it dragging behind. So you, so that's really quick. What is that? Yeah, this angle is too big. Bora, it's just showing the breaking. And it starts coming down. So this is essentially straight ahead, by the way. Like the way I'm animating, it's joint by joint, just doing what it needs me to do. Cool. So yeah, as you go along, I guess it becomes a little bit, it feels like it's becoming a little bit easier to do as I'm going along. So same thing, it needs to take time to react, just like that guy's nose. So as it does that, I need to try and keep this silver ball having the same momentum across the screen. So you see, it kind of looks like it's going up, which is bad. So let me try and maintain, because it still thinks the platform is moving. It doesn't know until the force goes down this chain. This ball should not know that the platform has stopped. No, is just like the general idea I'm using here. But yeah, so it needs to be really left behind there, because the force is still, it's not reached this one yet. The force is still on this guy, so this one should still be maintaining its momentum. So there's a wrong frame here. What's this? Should be this one. So it keeps going. This has just gotten pulled, so it doesn't know. So okay, there's a bit of a bump there. Boop, boop. So it's probably this key here. Delete. Yep. So feels like there's a pause there. It seems to stop. It needs to move. It looks like it's like it's anticipating. It shouldn't do that. It shouldn't feel like it's slowing down. So there's something wrong with this one here. So yeah, you guys said you wanted to be animated. This is just Pendulum, by the way. Like, this is stuff you should be doing on your own with hair and people's clothing while they're there acting and doing all sorts of weird things. So yeah, I've seen an animation of a flagpole like item with a wide base and a ball on the top side. Its animation must be similar to this, but more rigid. Yes, yeah, that's the general idea. So there, you can see there's a pause. It's like it waits. And there's someone who's waiting for something. And I think it's this guy. I think he can start move. He can be here by now. Yeah. Bounces back. Because Blender doesn't like keyframes right next to each other. Let's do this. V, auto, clamped. Maybe that's even what the issue is. Nope. So let's just look at it as a whole. I know for sure I want this, so I'll keyframe it. I know this is okay. Let me find a key that looks okay. This one. So I'll keyframe that. So all this stuff in between here can go. That might fix the problem. Okay, not bad. It looks a bit better. This feels slow now. Yeah, definitely feels too slow. So A, E, A, E. Let me fix that. Oof. Feels like it's just suddenly gone into slow-mo. What's going on here? It feels like there should be a base. So let me maybe kill this big space here. This could make a cool slow-mo of an edgelet on a shoe and someone freezes in place. Yep. Now you're getting ideas. Like, this is now where all that stuff comes into play. Maybe it's getting here too soon. It's getting there too soon. And here it's getting there here way too soon. So because it should get to the top on the left by the time this guy is just after this guy starts going back, but it looks like they're going back about the same time, so that's definitely wrong. So this can't have figured there by now. It should be dragging behind. It's dragged, so here's it gets pulled over. I feel like it should go like way further. But there's also the thing that if you look at this, hey, what's up? Welcome. So there's also the thing, if you look at this for a very long time, it starts to lose, stops making sense. This has gotten a bit messy, so let's see what I can do about it. Home. Yeah, we had a nice curve going on before. So this is too much. Okay, it barely has time to move. Yeah. And then now the way the momentum is decaying also has to apply the same way all the way down the chain. So it's a really difficult exercise to do, but once you clear it, so what I'll actually do is just remove this. They're already removed. Remove most of these keys and try and get this back to normal. So I can just focus on this alone. The curve seems to be resolving now. So here it should start coming back. And by here it starts going over. Yep. Wait. It's gone too far. This needs to go over. What is that? This. Okay. What? Where's 0? Oh, it's here. Okay, that's looking better. Cool. So let's go to the last leg. So it looks like it's anticipating, like, and then it goes, which is not so great. So let's look at how it should kind of still be down. Yeah, it shouldn't swing. It shouldn't start swinging around until the force comes through. So there we go. The top one gets pulled, then it gets pulled. So here it should be like, it should still be this thing pulling it, right? But it's also losing energy, so it shouldn't be as far. And then there, as the force goes through, it's still swinging out. So you can feel, it feels like it hits a wall here. It's just going boing. So it needs to slow down a bit. So what I can do is take it up kidogo too. So it pauses there kidogo. Yeah. So again, It shouldn't start coming up just yet. Still being dragged behind. And then now it swings out. Look at this splendor. What is this? Oh my goodness. Wow, 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 wow. Boy. Sapper's joke sometimes. Busy. As in, wow. Every now and then you just have to. So it needs to swing over. It still has some speed, so it should swing over curiosity. And then it swings up. I think now is when it can settle, so that in this keyframe it's gone over. Yeah, there we go. So, whew, wow, that was stressful. Let's see how it looks. So let's disable this and check it out. Whoa. So let's see. Definitely that swing is way too much. The strength of the swing is way too much, but I think you get the general idea of how it's ended up doing that wave feeling. I think, yeah, it's definitely gaining it's pausing there and then suddenly gaining some speed. So what I can do is tweak the graphs. It's like I was saying, this is the parts they don't show you. We need to now figure out what we need to do to actually fix the graphs and not have a mess. Let's switch all these off. Okay. So, why is Blender not showing all the curves? Ain't no way that's how all the curves look. Yeah, that's what I want to see. So we can start by first trying our luck in scaling these down. What do you guys think will happen if I scale these down? Could you add anticipation? Can you add anticipation? No, this is mainly about physics and trying to get the physics to work properly. If we start adding anticipation and such, we'll get lost in doing that. So I've just scaled down the curves. It's helped a bit, but now the timing is also coming into effect, so I may need to do this also, which is just gonna look at those curves. What the hell are they doing? That's a bad idea. The block slowing down perhaps. Oh, I can, it's actually a good idea. I can do view only selected. Whoa, it was keying everything. Does this also have keys? Yes. Wow. And it's moving. This is not showing the right thing. I thought it would. It's showing all keyframes and all the objects. Okay. This. Yes, that's why. So I need these. We could decide to add, or unless you mean like maybe I make the block go, instead of going just moving over, you could add the block going to the left slightly and then going like that. You could do that if you want, but yeah, keep in mind you still need to make sure you're maintaining that momentum on the ball, so that really completely changes what's happening. Even these keyframes are lost here, as much as it kind of looks like I'd have to now change this starting pose. So yeah, we're talking about fixing stuff. Yeah, okay, yeah, cool. So we were talking about fixing stuff. Let me try and, let's say now you are the client, you've come to me and you've said, hey bro, I want some anticipation on the block. And me as animator, I'm like, you know what, okay, fine. As much as I just spent an hour drawing this stuff, let me see, I need to just do the client changes and work on what they've said. So thank you, Mr. Client, for your changes. Facebook will hear about it, but at least you're not saying I make the logo bigger. So let's just try and, I think the most important pose would be how far the block goes is about there. So let me just put these guys where I think they're gonna be. So I need to put the ball back where it was, so I'll do this. So he gets left behind, and then now it won't just suddenly swing on its own over like that. Before, now the physics reaction has changed, right? It needs to, it's getting pulled. So this ball, it's supposed to be reacting to the platform still going towards the left. It's not felt that change in motion for the block to go to the right. It's not felt this change in motion yet. So there's no way it's already started. It's not, it can't just stop there like that. So that's definitely wrong. So the only thing we're really going to keep from all this is, let's see, it goes like that and then like that. So maybe this is the only keyframe I'm going to keep. So I'll hit I, and then I'll make sure this is the last point that looks good. So I'll hit I. So from frame 10 to frame 28, all this stuff has to go. So let me check it. It's only 4 keyframes, guys. Delete. So now we need to add that reaction. Naturally, it still looks wrong, but this definitely looks right. Let's see. Okay, so let's go. Moves over. Let's just do what this, let's just go one segment at a time. So I'll look at what this one is doing. At this point, for sure, it needs to still be back there. Now, it's going to be really hard to ignore these two, but I really just have to. And just look at what needs to happen. So it's going to go this way. Maintain that momentum. That's way too much for sure. Yeah, that looks okay. And let's grab this. Wait, let's get morbid. It's a robot waiter and serving of handing a tray that's attached to a magnet that kept going up to the front. Model that for me. Model the robot and I'll do that as well. So it goes like this. Remember, it needs to be left behind. So at this point, this ball is on now that's getting left behind. So this can probably go even further. And this goes like this. So as you can see, yeah, this we're trying to keep it there, and we're trying to also keep this one on the line. So this thing of this ball staying here when the motion starts is by far the most, if there's only one thing you're gonna take away, let it be that. The ball stays until it feels gravity. Until it feels the movement, I mean. So all the way till here. We can even put all these keyframes right next to each other. As long as we know what we're doing is right, we shouldn't have to worry about too many keyframes. So it's coming together. Now that we've done that first motion, we need to now implement this second part, which is the drag behind for this. So it's just started to feel that pull. Maybe I've pulled it back too much. Right, we're going joint by joint, so let me try and focus. So it swings back. I feel like this should be way more violent. Yeah. So it should be pulling back kidogo. Yeah, and then just as it starts to pull it, so I can probably delete this. So it kind of feels like it's floating there for a bit, so I should just agree to let it come down. So it's kind of like it's trying to get to this pose here, but just, it's kind of like, you remember the parabolas getting cut off and coming down? So that's kind of what's happening here. It's like each segment, it's trying to get to this pose, but every time the object turns, it now goes and tries to move to the other side. But now, since we have so many motions happening, it's just almost about to reach that curved pose, but then because the object turns again, now it's forced to change direction. So I need to remember not to look at, that's hovering there a bit too long. Oh, another thing you could also do is just in your head also, I'm kind of playing it like a sound. I'm going like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. I'm also, it kind of also helps me just picture what's happening. So I'm like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Yeah. Tying things to sound kind of helps because you also can give your animations a rhythm. Don't quote me on that though. I may have made that up. So remember, the ball can go backwards, so I need to make sure there are no frames of it going to the other side of the line. And it needs to also drag a bit, so here it should be. Dragging also. Yeah, cool. Hey, I think I'm done. Whoa. There you go. Mutt's animation. I hope that's what you meant by adding anticipation, because I'm about to send this back to you as the changes with your feedback. I hope I did them right, and you're not about to send it back with more. And then the client says, oh, wait, actually, no, that anticipation wasn't that great. Just remove it. Or you'd say, now, since you have that anticipation at the beginning, also the other side should have some cushioning and some bounce. Oh, and I'm like, I quit. No, I wouldn't quit. That's the whole point of being an animator. But yeah, that was fun. I hope you guys learned something new. Something else I was going to show before I got client feedback was, ooh, I shouldn't have done that. Blunder. Let's see. Let's go to nonlinear animation. Oh no, action. Where was actions again? Let's see. Ooh, dope sheet. Yes. So I can go to object mode and grab this and go to action editor and call this pendulum swing, and then I can make a copy and delete everything and do Alt G. Oops. Alt R. Oops. Oh, in pose mode, Alt GR. And we're back to square one. I just quickly wanted to show you that if you take this and flip it over, there's a challenge to do you leave the pendulum where it is, and then you do basically grass in the wind. And the idea is the same. So, or like, you can also do this like as a candle flame or something. So you start it in one, let's say it's in one pose like this. Select like this, go I, and then we say like there's wind blowing, so this is going to get pulled this way. So now the job is to, let's say it gets pulled this way, and then it gets pulled this way. Let's say this is like basically wind blowing and it's pulling this thing this way. Now your job would be to overlap the rest of the thing and make it look like it's this thing flapping in the wind. Yeah, like, yeah, those tourist vehicles which have a tennis ball on them, and the car is like doing all this crazy stuff. You want that antenna to be able to move pretty well, and also to be able to still keep that stiffness, because it has a rope on it, right? So it still needs to have, it needs to wobble but still have that stiffness about it, and you need to be able to balance those two. So yeah, that's a really cool example. Thanks. So I've done that, I've given it that shake, and then I can grab this guy and just reset him for now so that I don't get too confused. This one as well. Let's just see it's doing this. So let's give it that flow. So like we've said, there's two ways we can give it that flow. We can either make it look really flexible based on how we overlap this, or we can make it look just stiff with just a little bit of motion to it. So depending on, you can have the same motion in the bottom, but then how we treat the rest of the frames can decide how stiff or how flexible this guy is. So we can start there, and we focus on the points where it's changing motion. So once it starts doing that, we just point it back towards where it came from, and then motion has changed. So this guy is still going to be moving, so it's going to be swung over. So how much I'm doing this, how much it's swinging over, and how long that's taking is what's going to decide how stiff or how loose this guy looks. So here it needs to stay there and then swing back this way. So you can see it's being pulled. That's definitely too strong. Oh, I didn't put the key on this side to tell it not to move. So this is too much. And this needs to increase. Oops, it looks like it just gained speed there, right? From nothing. So one of these is wrong. So keeping the same stiffness throughout the animation is also what's really important. And the thing about this also is backwards. If I'm looking at it backwards, it shouldn't look right. When I play it forwards is when it should make sense. But backwards, it should look like an actual thing being playing backwards. And that's comes from how we overlap this guy. So we can say like this is seaweed or something in the ocean. This is moving way too fast. Gulby and the Mask. Yes, sir. It's all about momentum and maintaining that momentum and showing how all that momentum moves up the chain. So you guys should try this out. Actually, I think this grass one is a bit easier than the moving platform. Right, it's kind of moving like a limb. I think here it should move more. It's coming here too soon. It's kind of also knowing where it needs to be and when it needs to get there. But yeah, once you get it down, once you get it down, it becomes now like, imagine a character running, carrying a sword on his hand. The way the thing bobs, the way as he's running, the way the object is going to bob in his hand is going to be based on how the shoulder is moving. And then all that, the way it all just looks like it's peeling off, all that whole wavy motion, it all just comes from this idea of breaking things down as they go upwards. So let's continue with our grass. Seem to be getting confused here. So here it needs to go back. Blender, blender, blender. What is that surely? What is this keyframe? Go away. Delete. right? So this, maybe I can give it way like crazy overlap. Let's see what happens. Okay, no, maybe not. Let's try and maintain the same stiffness throughout. And this goes that way. Just come back. It shouldn't gain speed. It doesn't know that things have changed. So it shouldn't swing to the other side until this has started moving the other way. So it's kind of moving too much, or too little. Oh, but it's kind of posing anyway, so. Yeah, I like that sudden change in direction. Ooh, like that should be really sharp. Whoop. And then it just suddenly goes like that. And this goes there. Ew, yuck. It looks like a, anyway, yeah, but you can see how the overlap. Maybe let me give this first pose something more sensible. Anyway, no. So you can see how the overlap only works in one direction. When I play it this way, it looks okay. But when I play it backwards, when I play it forwards, it looks okay. But when you play it backwards, you can kind of tell it's something played back. It now looks like a worm. When the top of the thing is leading the action, it looks like a worm moving. But now, if we look at it playing forwards, it looks more now like gravity or some kind of loose tentacle. So, yeah, that's the general idea behind the pendulum. You can try make one that's more flexible or make one that's very stiff. But the general point of it all is to properly understand how, I think, yeah, Girl Behind the Mask has explained it already. You guys are just too smart for me. Has explained the general idea behind it, that it comes down to understanding physics and understanding how motion works. And the best way to do that is with a bouncing ball and with this pendulum. And you can see even with the pendulum, we're already using concepts from the bouncing ball, the parabolas and such. We're using that concept, the tops of the parabolas, not so much the bottoms where they're hitting the ground. We're now looking at the tops where it would come up, slow down, and then go back down. Now that's what we're doing with the swings. It swings to one side, slows down, swings to the other, slows down, swings to the other. And then now on top of that swinging, we're now adding that it's being pulled. So the pull and the stiffness and all those things you think about, once you have that stuff down, everything becomes a lot easier. So like now, with the elephant stuff I was showing you, when I'm now doing the elephant moving with its trunk, elephants a lot of the time leave their trunks to just hang down. So when it's moving its head, the trunk needs to have that overlap. But now, how do I combine the elephant turning its head with gravity, but halfway through it decides to lift its trunk, like it wants to do this? How will that physics and overlap work? Now I need to start thinking about the poses and the idea of an elephant. It's no longer how the physics works about it. I can now just know for sure that I'll figure out how it's going to just do that smooth move. As it's coming up, I know the top is where all the action is going to come from. So as it's pulling the task up, you can see that to get that nice wave. It's all about making sure, yeah, the points move like that. I'm getting pretty burnt out. Yeah, this was quite not as long as I thought actually. But yeah, that's the general idea behind the pendulum. So The challenge is to you guys. Jeffrey's to send me some some rigs or something, but for everyone else, it's to work on the pendulum, get the rig from Gumroad. You can either do the platform moving, or you can do the grass one. The grass one is seems way more fun, if you ask me. But it's all up to you. So yeah, hope you guys really enjoyed that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Post them in the chat. We still have like 15 minutes, so hopefully you guys can holler before I get this client of mine telling me to add anticipation. Let's switch to, let's see, full screen. Came out way better than, this really came out way better than I expected. Yeah. So while I wait for your questions, I can tell you guys something interesting. I thought about my story, the Kokoteni guys, and wait, he's asked me a question. Oh yeah, so I was thinking about my, okay, wait, let's get more questions, and then maybe like 2 more questions, and then I'll run through them. So I was thinking about the Mkokoteni story, and I realized we had something going. One of the ideas we gave was the guy going undercover in the other guy's house to hide in plain sight, and that brought something up. My ending scene of the guy driving off with a crowd of boda bodas and the rich guy standing in front of them trying to stop. I really wanted to focus on that scene. And one of the ideas that came from it was that it's a guy hiding in plain sight. So I really need to capitalize on that idea that even the Mkokotenis, as they were, the idea behind the Mkokotenis carrying the money was that they were hiding in plain sight. And even that other guy is hiding in plain sight. So I need to try and find a way to make this idea of hiding in plain sight tie into the heist that I want to do. So the heist they should be doing they should be stealing something that was in plain sight, like I don't know, like a statue or something that's been there. We said it was a title deed, so maybe it should be saved. It should be stored somewhere in plain sight that the general public can't see. But yeah, it's one of the drawing ideas that I thought I should try and push on and drive. But yeah, I also read the book, and it was also a lot on I shouldn't fixate on that scene so much. I should, since it's now given me the idea of hiding in plain sight, I should build upon that instead of just trying to focus on that scene and making it really crazy. So that would be really cool. Anyway, question. Hello. How come you used straightforward and not pose to pose? Because I'm trying to do a simulation, and ideally I don't already know where things need to be. Let's go here. I was kind of freestyling when I was when I put these keyframes at the bottom. I was kind of just guessing, moving the time and guessing, so they weren't really in any specific place. But ooh, did it save my other animation? Let's see. This should be grass animation, and then you can switch this to pendulum. Oh yeah, it's still here, but it's upside down. Yeah, you can do this. You can save animations as actions, and then now if it's like a video game, you can save a run as one action, and then an idle as another action, and then send those actions to like Unreal. And yeah, you can have everything in one file, and you can also blend them. So what were you asking again? How come you did straightforward and not pose to pose? So what we did actually with pose to pose was when I started before, when the platform started moving, and then I was like, I know this pose has to be there. And then I know when it's straight, that pose has to be there. So that was kind of the pose to pose segment of it. But from then onwards, it was about trying to get the momentum and the physics to look right. So the only proper way to do that was just to go and just add the keyframes as I need them from 0 to 100. So yeah, hope that answers your question, Jotham. Yeah. I can't believe I saved that. But I should have a backup somewhere. Any other question? Or comment? Or complaint? Or anything? So if you're a real boss, you can probably do this. And then make the bouncing ball come and bounce on top of it. And then they all interact with each other. But if you can really get yourself confident in being able to do something like this, I think you don't have to stress about too much. Let's see, camera only. Yeah. Oh, I got an elephant rig on for Maya for free. It's pretty nice. It's actually education only, so but so is my Maya anyway. I should probably get proper Blender. Probably move this guy into Blender. Num, 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 num. Create reference. No other questions, I guess. All right. Guess it's an early one today. Or not. Maybe. Okay, so let me show you what I'm talking about on the elephant trunk as a final finisher to say goodbye to all this stuff and everything we've done so far. Let's go full screen. So here I have this guy, and let's say I want to do the same animation I've just mentioned. So let's say the head is looking this way down and maybe tilted a bit. So let's say it's looking down like that. As to set keyframe, can go to 35 and say now he turns his head like this. And set. So that's the animation, right? Now I need to make sure the trunk is also following physics. So right now it should be just straight down, right? Let me just grab all the S. Let's say it's like that with gravity, and his head is tilted, so it should be straight down. So now when he turns his head, I need to now apply the same level of overlap that is also effective for a pendulum. So let's first get where that keyframe for the head is 35. So now grab the trunk, set a keyframe, and just make sure it's where it needs to be. So let's say that's the final pose that I want the trunk to be on. And then, but it starts from here. So I need to now apply that same level of overlap on it. Actually, let me even take it a step further and say it does this. Yeah, boy, we're going ham. Okay. So the old elephant salute. And it's even tilted like this a bit. So yeah, that's my elephant. I want to combine the physics of the trunk moving and also show some overlap. So naturally, this elephant is not just going to go straight up. It probably needs some in between. So first is the physics of it pulling up. So it can't just suddenly go up like that. It definitely needs to stay down for a bit. He needs to turn his head first and then move the trunk. So I'm gonna keep the keyframes back. I've basically just copied these keyframes here. And then I want to break down how the trunk comes up. Because you can see now, it's just, oh man, I can't draw as well as I was drawing on Blender. But I can just use Epic Pen. It's getting pretty dense. Oh, 5 minutes. So with Epic Pen somewhere on the screen, where has it gone? Oh, there we go. There we go. No, delete. So right now the trunk is just going up in a straight line, but I don't want it to go in a straight line. I want it to have a breakdown where it's kind of, instead of going straight like that, it should stay bent a little bit and then go up and uncurl as it uncurls somewhere up here. So to do that, and I also need to combine that with the physics of the gravity of the trunk. So I need to know that before it gets even to, oh man, moving from Maya to Blender immediately is a bad idea. There we go. So here I need to do that thing of the bottom of the trunk is here, so it needs to stay in the same place as the head moves. It doesn't feel the gravity of it moving yet. So here it looks okay, but here it's actually moved a bit. You can see it's moved forward a bit, right? So to really make this feel like gravity is, some forces are pulling on it, I'll do the same thing of breaking the joint, of breaking up the momentum. So as this head comes up, I want to tilt this back. Oops. I want to tilt this guy back a bit so that this tip of the trunk stays where it was. It kind of stays locked in space. So you kind of see how the head is moving, the trunk has stayed where it is. Even as far as here, I can now start giving it this look. That of where it's just started to feel gravity pulling, the object pulling against it. So on here 13, I can just drag it back even more. So see, it has a nice feel to it. It's not just feeling stiff anymore. Just for a few frames, it's not even that much. Yeah, man, my comp is like hemming. And it's pretty far away from me. So then now here I can put that breakdown I was talking about, where it just slowly uncurls, and that curl is going to come from making it point where it came from. So yeah, now that that curve, it's gone from that straight. Remember we had the straight like this, and then as the trunk came up, we tried to keep it where it was, and then now as it's gone on, it's just been pulled that way. So that's now what's going to give it that feel of overlap. So instead of just going straight up, it feels like it's curling. So if you want to continue adding that feel, you can see here it gets a bit straight. So we can just continue to show that momentum sort of idea, but at the same time we also don't want to kill, to make it look like it's just a floppy pipe. So just by adding this curve here, I'm giving it more of a curly feel. Yeah, so now it never actually gets at least straight completely. So here it's kind of straight, so we can maybe do this, make it anticipate, come a bit sooner. But anyway, yeah, you can just continue to, I can just continue to play with it more, but now when I start to do this, I'm starting to add now, it's the elephant intentionally pulling it up, not a force, and you can really tell the difference. So to make it even feel a bit more, I can copy my client, and maybe just before the trunk actually comes up, I can make it curl up even more. I exaggerate it, so instead of just being left behind, just before it comes up, it can curl up. I see Blender. Can curl up just a little bit more. Then it shoots out. That looks cool, right? Come on, tell me that doesn't look cool. Curl up, and then it goes yoop, up over the head. Right, okay, yeah, that's it, guys. Oh man. Hope that all made sense. Hope that was all pretty clear. Yogi's made a good point. I should probably chill my comp out. But yeah, that's Pendulum Animation. Give it a try and let me know what happens. Hopefully you guys have learned something useful and something new. Yep, that's it. Thanks for coming through. Thanks for watching the videos. If you're watching this after the fact, thanks for making it this far and for taking the time to listen to me ramble for 2 hours over pendulums. That's really dope that you made it this far, and I think if you must have learned something new. Go ahead, try and apply it to your stuff. You have someone doing a motion of some kind, watch how things move, look at grass, look at trees, how as motion comes in, they break up. Just, yeah, write it all down, get a notebook and make all that stuff. You can even do the grass exercise on your book if you want. Make it a flip book at the corner of your notebook. That would be really cool. Yeah, as for me, that's pretty much it. Once again, thanks for taking the time to hang out with me and talk about this stuff. The hangouts are still gonna keep going on. I think I'm going to try focus a bit more on the ideas side. I've been talking about notebooks. I really need guys to get on top of this notebook stuff. So I'm going to try and focus a bit more on how to transfer ideas onto paper. And someone said something. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so look for a notebook, get a pen or a pencil, doesn't really matter. Write down all your ideas. I'll continue thinking about my Mkokoteni guy story, heist, hustle story. Hopefully, I'll have it figured out by the end of the year. And pitch it to Netflix. Hope something comes of it. But until then, we'll be right here, maybe even after then, we'll be right here doing our Hangouts. So we're going to continue the program. As I said, we'll be looking at ideas. I still have one more presentation to go through on this cycle of 3D animation stuff. Oh, actually, I don't. No, this was it. Now we're moving on to other stuff. So I'd really like your feedback. So check out the group on the group. I'm gonna post a poll and just a quick survey to get some feedback from you guys on how these sessions have been. And I look forward to hearing from you. Until then, thanks and bye. See you next Thursday.